Hey, quick question before we start. Look around you right now. I guarantee there's a chair within 10 feet of you. Maybe you're even sitting in one, and you didn't even think about it, did you? But here's the thing. That thing you just casually threw yourself into, 400 years ago, it would have started a war. So today, I'm going to let someone tell you their own story. And trust me, they've been waiting a long time to talk. Ladies and gentlemen, the chair.
You've sat in me your entire life. At breakfast, at school, at that job you pretend to love. You've sat in me so many times in so many rooms that I've become completely invisible to you. And I find that deeply offensive, because I want you to understand something. I wasn't always this common. There was a time, not that long ago, when sitting in me wasn't just a preference, it was a declaration that meant everything. So before you shift your weight and scroll, I need you to stay with me. Because the story of how I went from the seat of kings to the seat of your kitchen, that story says something about you, about all of you. And you're not going to like it. For most of human history, we're talking ancient Egypt, Rome, medieval Europe, dynastic China. People sat on the floor, cushions, benches, or stools without backs. That was just normal life. Nobody complained because nobody knew anything different. But then there was me, a seat with a back. That backrest meant someone built protection into the very furniture around you because you were too important to worry about it yourself. Everyone else watched their own back. You had a throne doing it for you. Only one type of person in the world commanded that kind of treatment. The person everyone else was already afraid of. So here's what's strange. If I was so exclusive and was literally the physical symbol of royal authority, then why are you eating cereal in me right now? Why am I stacked against every wall? How did the throne become that? Here's what doesn't make sense on the surface. Status symbols don't just evaporate. The Rolex is still the Rolex. So why did I, the most powerful status symbol in human history, end up in a school cafeteria? The answer is one of the most fascinating con jobs ever pulled in human history.
And the con artists were merchants with very good taste and absolutely no shame. Let's go to Tudor England, the 1500s. You walk into a wealthy household and you look around the main room. There are benches, stools, long table, and then in one specific spot, there is one chair with a back. That chair belongs to the head of the house. Even important guests get stools. Because the chair wasn't furniture, it was a statement. It said, "This is my domain and I am the authority in it." And the language locked it in forever. Chairman. The person in charge of the meeting, the chair of the committee. When the Pope speaks with absolute religious authority, it's called speaking ex cathedra, literally from the chair. Even the word cathedral comes from cathedra, the bishop's chair. The chair was power. Now, look at the portraits from this period. Every single painting of a king, a queen, a pope, an emperor, they are seated on the high-backed chair. And everyone around them, standing, because you stand before authority. This held for centuries. And then, in the 1600s, something happened that I, frankly, never fully recovered from. Trade. The merchant class exploded across England and the Netherlands. These were people who had made serious money, but they had one problem.
They had no title, no family name, and no land passed down from some Norman ancestor who was good at violence. In a world that ran on inherited status, they were wealthy nobodies. So they did what any reasonable person does when they have money but no respect. They bought the symbols. Me. Suddenly, furniture makers in London and Amsterdam couldn't keep up with demand. Chairs were rolling out of workshops as fast as they could build them, and merchants were buying them by the set, filling their parlors, seating their guests, making sure everyone who walked through the door got the message. The aristocracy noticed immediately and did what threatened elites always do. They escalated. Higher backs, fancier carvings, silk cushions, gold armrests, anything to stay ahead of the people catching up. But here's the irony. The more they competed, the more chairs got made. The more chairs got made, the cheaper they became. And by the 1720s, English craftsmen had figured out the Windsor chair. Simple, sturdy, costs almost nothing. Then the Industrial Revolution arrived and finished the job entirely. Factories pumping out thousands of identical chairs, shipped everywhere, bought by everyone. The throne had become furniture. Here's the truth. I didn't become ordinary because people stopped caring about status. I became ordinary because too many people cared about status. The merchant class wanted to look like the elites, so they bought me. That made me common, cheaper, and accessible to the class below them, which made me cheaper still, and on until I landed in a school cafeteria with a crack in my plastic seat and someone's gum under my leg. I am the victim of my own desirability.
The moment I became the thing everyone wanted, I became the thing that meant nothing. That is the cruelest irony I have ever experienced, and I have been around for a very long time. But here's what this actually means, because this isn't just about me. The moment enough people want a thing, the machine figures out how to make it cheap. And the moment it's cheap, it stops meaning what it meant. And the people who wanted it for the status have to find the next thing, which means status is not a destination. It's a treadmill. And the treadmill has been running since the first merchant in 1620 looked at a king's chair and thought,
This is
I could
a
have that.
great place
You have been
to
on that treadmill
learn.
your entire life. You just didn't know the chair started it.
Okay, I have been sitting in chairs my entire life, and I genuinely never thought about this once, and now I find out it used to be a throne, and the only reason I have one is because some 17th century merchant wanted people to think he was fancy? That's actually insane. I will never sit down again without thinking about this, which is gonna make my life significantly more exhausting, so you're welcome. This is Whysdomia, where ordinary things get the stories they deserve. If this made you look twice at something you use every day, subscribe and stay curious. Because once you start asking why, the world becomes a lot more interesting.